Hi, I'm Kesenya, and thank you so much for joining me for this week's Astro Weather Report. I'm your Astro Weather Girl, and it's lovely to be with you with the forecast for this week, a very special week, the new moon, not full moon, the new moon in the sign of Gemini. Now, before I get hooked into what this new moon is all about and how precious it is in our lives right now, I just want to let people know, in case you weren't aware, that I run a Facebook and Instagram page where I offer a daily oracle card to encourage us all through these difficult times. So if you haven't checked that out, there's a link in the description below. Pop over there, have a look, see if it's your cup of tea, your bag, baby, and if it is, then get on board. I'd love to see you there. So this is the sky at the moment that we're looking at this week, and in particular we want to notice this new moon, sun and moon conjoining at 2 degrees of the sign of Gemini. What is this going to mean? Well, this is a very influential new moon because it's the first new moon in the axis of Gemini Sagittarius since the nodes moved in there not so long ago, about a week or so ago. Here is the nodes just moved out of Capricorn Cancer and into Gemini Sagittarius. So what does this mean? Well, the new moon here is the first time we've had a new moon with the nodes sharing the same axis for about 9 years. And it's very significant because it heralds the beginning, in my opinion, of eclipse season. Because in 2 weeks' time, after this new moon, the sun and the moon are going to separate. I'll show you how it works. New moon here, moon travels around and around and around, ends up in Sagittarius, opposite the sun. We get a full moon on this axis in Sagittarius, full moon in Sagittarius, which is going to fall within proximity of the nodes, sort of about halfway through. 14 degrees here, 29 degrees here. And when that happens, it's in orb of it creating an eclipse. Now, it's a very weak eclipse, but an eclipse nonetheless. And one of the 6 eclipses we're having this year in 2020. 2020 is a very significant year. I'm going to talk more about the eclipses in a couple of weeks' time, or about a week or so's time, when we're actually looking at staring down the barrel of the first eclipse occurring on this axis for the first time in 9 years. But we're entering into the zone, the eclipse zone now, because roughly a week to 2 weeks before an eclipse occurs, that's when we can start to notice the changes and the momentum brought about by eclipse energy about to occur. We also notice sort of a week to 2 weeks after an eclipse, big changes can happen, especially if the eclipse happens to be falling on a significant part of our chart, maybe our sun or our moon or our ascendant degree. So we're going into eclipse zone, and this is going to last for the next 18 months where all the eclipses are going to fall on this axis. So this new moon that we're having here in Gemini is heralding the beginning of the season of eclipse cycles, or eclipses occurring in Gemini Sagittarius. We're entering the zone. Hope you're getting my drift there. So although this eclipse, it's not going to be a super strong eclipse because the distance that the sun and moon will be from their nodes is quite large. It's over 10 degrees. It's still an eclipse nonetheless. It's still considered to be an eclipse nonetheless. And the first one that we're going to be having on this axis, as I said. But if you happen to have planets at 14 degrees where the full moon will be occurring, or 29 degrees of either Sagittarius or Gemini, then you will feel this eclipse effect. And so keep an eye out now. If you've got any significant planets at either of those degrees, you'll start to see things in your field, in your energy, in your circumstances in life that might indicate a big change of momentum is about to occur for you. But as I said, we'll talk more about that in a week or so's time when I discuss the eclipse in my weather report. But what about this new moon? What's it going to bring us? What is this energy going to be? Well, as I said, we're entering into a new 18-month cycle of eclipses on this axis. This is heralding the beginning of that cycle. And so the energy of this new moon brings us into alignment with the energy of that cycle. We kind of get on board with it. What does this mean? Well, this cycle is going to bring us, and this new moon will also initiate us into this new cycle by bringing a process of flushing out the truth. And aren't we already starting to see that in the world? The truth is starting to come up, but not just one truth. We're getting many truths. This is Gemini. The truth, of what one person believes is not the same as the truth of what another person believes, and we're getting a lot of truths being flushed to the surface. I read an article this morning that I found fascinating. I don't know whether it is true or not, but according to this article, many Italian doctors have done autopsies on those who've died from coronavirus and found that it isn't actually a pneumonia. It is more of an inflammatory type disease, and that it can be cured, if you want to call it cured, or abated with aspirin and antibiotics and so forth. Now, I'm no medical practitioner. This was just an article I read as an illustration here of a truth rising to the surface in the week of the new moon. So this is what we're going to see more of over the next 18 months, being initiated into this process right now, this week, by the new moon in Gemini. Truths being flushed out to the surface. All truths. Because, and I'm a big believer in this, there is no one narrow road. My truth is different to your truth. My life journey is different to your life journey, because I'm wired astrologically in a different way to how you're wired astrologically. So that doesn't make my way the right way, and it doesn't make your way wrong. It means I have my truth, you have your truth. And this is the kind of energy we're entering into now under Gemini Sagittarius axis for eclipse seasons ahead. All truths start to come out, and perhaps, and I hope, fingers and toes crossed, I hope it means that we start to recognize other people's truths as being valid, as being worthy, just as our own truths are valid and worthy. And I've talked about this recently in my interview that I did with Lada, where we talked about how the sharing of knowledge is going to be a big influence on this cycle. And I mentioned the discussion with Ricky Gervais, who's an atheist, with Russell Brand, who was taking the advocate of faith and God, and their discussion was very respectful and interested. Well, tell me about what you think. And okay, that's interesting, your perspective on that. This is what I mean by truth. All truths now start being flushed out and considered, and I think this is a precious component of this cycle. Truths put forward for everyone to explore now and consider them, weigh them up, hold them in the light. Do they hold water for us? It's the energy of the messenger coming out. Gemini, ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the messenger of the gods, and that's what we're looking at here, the energy of the messenger. Now, the troubadour is another archetypal energy for this Gemini Mercury kind of idea. The troubadour, the entertainer, or the court jester. When my kids were a little younger, I used to love watching Horrible Histories with them. What a brilliant show that is. Honestly, best show ever on telly. And it was fantastic. I still like to watch it even when the kids aren't around. But in it, they had this one skit, I remember, where one of the actors was dressed up as a court jester, and the narrator or the skit was describing how the court jester was given the task of going into the bedroom or the dinner room or whatever of King Henry VIII, and this court jester had to deliver some really awful news to King Henry VIII. Nobody else wanted to go and give him the shitty news, but it was the job of the court jester to go and give him this message, butter him up, make him laugh, have a good time, ha ha ha, and then deliver the ultimatum and then get the hell out of there, and this skit was very funny and very well done. But that's what this messenger of Gemini Mercury energy is like. It's like there might be some tough news that has to be delivered. It might be coded in a bit of fun and a bit of delight, but there might be some messages that have to come out now that might be a bit tough, that has to be delivered to humanity through this cycle of eclipses, and starting now with the new moon in Gemini. One thing that we might see in this energy of Gemini, starting now with the new moon, of trade and commodities and, you know, the buying and the selling and so forth, what we might start to now see is sayonara, goodbye to neoliberalism. Oh my God, I hope so. Far out. And a bit of a goodbye to globalism as well, to an extent also, because what does Gemini correlate to? It's not parochial insular societies, but it is about localized community. That's what Gemini governs. So we might now be seeing a goodbye to neoliberalistic politics and goodbye to globalism in favor of community, localized community action, community production, community networks. Networks are seen by Gemini. So although Gemini is not necessarily community oriented, it is about the localized economy, the localized production, the localized output, and buying and selling and trading locally. So that we're seeing this happen already now. Also, we've heard people talk about the skills of the hands with Gemini energy, and so now hand-produced goods, you know, the things that we make ourselves, not mass production, but hands, skills, trades. Wow, exciting times. I cannot tell you how excited I am to see this energy starting to manifest, and even more so now as we enter into the real hard yakka of this nodal transit as the eclipses begin. Oh, I'm thrilled to bits. We have allowed in globalism as a society, you know, collectively across the board. We've allowed in neoliberalism and globalism, and what's driving neoliberalism and globalism? It's greed, and we can't sort of blame China as a lot of people are doing now. You know, it's not China's fault that they're now trying to take advantage of their position in the world. Well, you know, wouldn't we all, if we were in a position where all manufacturing had come to us and so we had a bit of leverage now over the rest of the world? China is a country with a long-range plan. They're not about who's in power at this moment and can I stay in for another term. You know, that doesn't matter. They're looking long-range. What can we achieve as a country in the long term? So good on them. But for the rest of us who've given this leg up to neoliberalist politics and globalization, it's time to localize again. And I'm hearing everyone, certainly in Australia, I don't know about the rest of the world, but in Australia, oh my God, everybody's talking about, we've got to get manufacturing back here again. We've got to start producing our own stuff again. Yes, we do. You can see I'm a bit on my soapbox here, on my bandwagon, but I've been preaching this for years. We need to have a you know, not cut off all trade, but have a foundation of self-sufficiency to start with before we go sort of trading. So I'm excited by the localization that this can now bring, where we're focused on our communities and our community economies. I think that's it's long overdue, as you can see, very passionate about this idea. It's going to be very interesting. I, as an astrologer, am very curious to observe how it's going to play out in Gemini-ruled countries and Sagittarius-ruled countries, of which Australia is one. Here in Sagittarius, we've got the South Node dissolving a lot of what might have been happening in Sagittarius-ruled countries. And some Sagittarius-ruled countries are obviously Australia, Spain, Singapore, Hungary. So we might see, well, for example, in Australia, all our manufacturing has gone overseas, and all our factories are lying empty, not being used. So that our economy or the community as we know it, the society in Australia as we know it, might be about to go through a bit of a dissolution. Same perhaps in Spain, perhaps in Singapore, perhaps in Hungary. But it could be very good for countries ruled by Gemini, places like Iceland, Belgium, Norway, Sweden, Morocco and Montenegro. Hello, Catherine. In those countries, we might see a bit more of a get-go, a bit more of a let's start moving, and because these countries tend to sort of operate with a Gemini energy. So it's going to be very fascinating as astrologers, those of us who are astrologers who are watching, to see what plays out under this next 18-month period in those countries particularly. So that's what we might be seeing brought about some general ideas, some general thoughts here, brought about by the eclipse seasons that are going to be playing out in the Gemini Sagittarius axis. So do keep an eye on those countries, keep an eye on those themes playing out in and around your life over the next 18 months. Now, personally, we often get big hits of energy in our life when we get the first component of a cycle happening. So for example, let's say you are having a Pluto crossing your moon. The first hit might be the toughest one, and then the next subsequent hits of that Pluto crossing your moon, you could sort of breathe a bit easier, or it wasn't quite as devastating, or wasn't quite as full of upheaval and transformation as the first hit. You know, the old song, the first cut is the deepest. Well, that's really what we can be looking at with the first hit of a particular cycle of energy astrologically. So it is likely that this new moon will be quite strongly felt, because it's the first, as I said, in this cycle of moons and new moons in this sign. So as I said, it's happening at 2 degrees of Gemini, with a tight orb of a trine to Saturn. Let me draw that on there. Here's Saturn. Saturn's at 1 degree of Aquarius, and he is making a trine here to the new moon. Very tight orb, so it will be very strongly felt. We'll talk about that in a minute. There is also a square from Mars, but look, there's a 4-degree orb involved in that, so we may feel it. We might feel a bit of tension. We might feel a bit of kind of aggressive kind of energy of Mars. That could be there, but it's not going to be as strong. It's going to be overshadowed by the trine from Saturn, which is much tighter, much stronger orb. Let me just get that sitting there. So that's what we will be looking at with the energies coming through this new moon from other planets aspecting it. So if you have a planet sitting around 2 degrees of Gemini, you're going to feel this new moon particularly strongly. Also, if you have a planet sitting around 2 degrees of Pisces, or your ascendant degree, around that area of Pisces, you'll feel it as well. Also in a sort of perhaps a harder way. Anyone with a planet around 2 degrees of Aquarius, well, you're going through a Saturn transit across your whatever planet it happens to be right now. So you'll be feeling that energy at the moment anyhow, but then you'll get the new moon, but it'll happen for you in a harmonious way because it's happening through a trine. This also applies to anyone with a planet around 2-ish degrees of Libra. You'll get the effects of the trine, an easy kind of harmonious feel to this this new moon cycle. Or another hard aspect being if you have a planet at around 2 degrees of Virgo, that will be sort of felt in a more harder way, or perhaps a more challenging way, or a more difficult way. And also, if you've got a planet at 2 degrees of Sagittarius, you'll also feel this in sort of a more hard way. The times that this new moon is occurring around the world was fascinating to me, and when I did the research, I'll share it with you and see if you can notice the similarity. It won't be that hard to spot the similarity in these times in key major cities around the world, all in different time zones, but see if you can notice the similarity. In Los Angeles, the eclipse is occurring on the 22nd of May at 10:38 a.m. In London, the eclipse is also occurring on the 22nd of May at 6:38 p.m. In Sydney, Australia, the eclipse is occurring on the 23rd of May at 3:38 a.m. And in New York, the eclipse is occurring on the 22nd of May at 1:38 a.m. The common denominator is the 38, the number 38 in each of those time zones. So yeah, the hour is different for each of those time zones, as is always the case when we're looking around the world. But for every area, we're looking at 38. And what does the 3 and the 8 add up to? A master number 11. Now, I'm not a practicing numerologist, but I do find it quite interesting. It's number 11, a master number. And what does that mean? It means that something above and beyond the mundane is involved in this eclipse, because that's what the master number 11 means. So that is part of this eclipse, that there's something above and beyond the mundane. There's a double influence of number one energy when you've got a master number like this involved. And so we will feel this collectively and perhaps personally as well, this energy in our lives. And what is the one energy? It's positivity, it's creativity, it is the primal force within us. Double energy of that playing out through this, I keep calling it an eclipse. It's the new moon I'm talking about, okay? It symbolizes a pushing of humanity to the highest levels of their spiritual potential or their spiritual perception. So we're going to be kind of woken up. A lot of people are going to get woken up by this new moon energy. Suddenly the light's going to dawn, the penny's going to drop, you know, the blinders will be taken off the eyes. The spiritual perception will start to manifest in a lot of people's lives as a result of this new moon. It's really a master energy. A double one energy, an 11 energy, is representative of a combination of opposites. So the combination of masculine and feminine coming in together, the combination of darkness and light coming in together, the combination of mortal and immortal coming in together, the combination of spirit and matter coming in together, oneness, unity. So I, for one, am really excited about this new moon. Not only is it the first moon phase that we're having, or new moon phase that we're having in the cycle of Sagittarius Gemini nodal axis, but it's also got this numerological master number 11 involved in the energy of this eclipse. So thrilling, where we're going to see oneness come into things. Love it. Now back to the astrology. Thank you for letting me diverge just momentarily there. Back to the astrology. Well, this trine to Saturn, as I mentioned a moment ago, is going to be the stronger influence that's occurring with this new moon energy. And we all know that a new moon energy represents beginnings, something starting, something being established. So that's what we're looking at with the energy of the new moon. And with a double one energy master number as well, it's sort of double whammy, creation energy, new beginning energy that's playing out with this. Love it. So excited. But Saturn's trine is going to make whatever we do begin, whatever we do establish, whatever we do start, whatever new intentions we bring, they're going to solidify. They're going to last, they're going to endure, they're going to be around for the long haul. So we need to be very conscious of what we are beginning and what we're establishing. Let's make it something good. Let's make it something worthwhile. You don't have to launch a new idea. You don't have to sort of put it out there to the world yet, but you can start the planning phase and the work phase and the, doing the background kind of stuff phase now under this new moon energy, knowing that it's going to be blessed for the long term. Now, we might need to utilize, not so much utilize, we're going to have the patience that we need to handle any difficulties that might come up now, which is fantastic because look at the state of the world. We need patience. We need Saturnian perseverance and endurance. And that's especially true if we're establishing something, starting something in our lives fresh. Usually it'll be something that we've already been thinking about or planning for, and now we're like getting the momentum to really get it going. So we're going to be patient with it, and we'll probably be able to carry it through to the long term, the long-term goal, like I was speaking before about China with their long-term 100-year plan, as opposed to the way we do things in the West, 2 years and then that party will be out and the other party will be in, So we're going to have the perseverance and patience that what we establish now can last us the long term and be enduring. Fantastic. It's a good time under this new moon energy to seek the advice and support in our networks with our elders. Saturn is elders. Saturn is the wisdom keepers. Saturn is, the chiefs of the tribe, the people with the knowledge because they've been here for so long and they understand how things work. Getting advice and support and insight from the wisdom keepers in our communities, in our societies, is supported now. Now, coupled with that, I want to say, yes, Gemini is an energy that's new and fresh, absolutely, and it's a youthful energy. But don't throw out tradition right now. And what I mean by that is It's in the old Saturn that we're going to find solutions to the current problems in our society. And what have I just been talking about? You know, for example, if manufacturing comes back to Australia, that's actually an old way of doing things, you know. But not only that, in our personal lives, nana stuff, grandma stuff, that's really where we're going to direct our attention to now. And it actually does fit with Gemini energy. The make, do, and mend skill sets of our forebears, of our ancestors. You know, my grandmother, she lived through the Great Depression, and I remember her telling me when I was a young woman, oh, Kesenya, you shouldn't be throwing your underwear out. You need to take that elastic out of the top and rethread some new elastic into that pair of underwear. And I thought, come on, Grandma, who's going to do that? You know, just get rid of the old undies, buy a new pair. Well, hello, we might be going into a time when we're using the skills of our hands to rethread the elastic on our undies. Thanks, Grandma. So that old traditional approach from our ancestors who lived through the Depression and the war and stuff, that make, do, and mend kind of approach, that grow your own food approach, that's a traditional way of doing things. Saturn giving us support now to do things with our own hands and our own skill sets. That's going to come up now. Thrifting, recycling, upcycling. Very Saturnian influence, and why not? I think this is wonderful. I think I'm a big advocate for doing that anyway. You know, you've all seen the dresses that I wear on my videos. They're all made from patterns I've collected over the years from the 1950s and 1960s dress patterns, and I make my own clothes. So I'm a big advocate for these skills of the hands being used now, and I think we're going to see that more and more, especially beginning with this Saturn energy to the new moon. The traditions are not going to be thrown out. They can actually be drawn on to help us through this time. Love it. Love it. Also, with this new moon energy and the trine to Saturn, we can start to depend on our instincts. Trust our instincts now. They're solid now. Saturn is solid. Moon is instincts, and our instincts are going to be solid now. Common sense will be on our side. So trust it. Connections with our ancestors is also represented by this aspect. I've already kind of alluded to how that might play out. You might remember a time when you talked with your grandmother about rethreading the elastic on your undies. Then, you know, so be it. But this connecting to the traditions of our ancestors, the beliefs of our ancestors. My grandma most blessedly left me a big Fowler's preserving kit, which I might have to hunt out and start using. Looking forward to doing that. So connecting with ancestors. And we start to think under the influence of this Saturn piece, we start to think long term now. We consider the long haul, and we take the steps to attain things, new starts, new beginnings. It'll feel new to us, but it's for the long haul, long-term effects. So, we'll have a good dose of diligence, a good dose of determination that we can put into these new things that we start that, as I said, will last for the long haul. Now, Saturn is also conjunct a fixed star Alatar, making this aspect to the new moon. And so Alatar is a leadership star, and it's connected to divine higher powers. Now, whether those powers are for good or for not so good, it's really up to what the individual is channeling. But let's hope that most of us are tapping into the divine higher energies through prayer, through faith, and through belief, and maybe through meditation or yoga. And it's through these sort of visions and dreams and communications with higher powers that we can actually be empowered through this new moon cycle. Guidance and leadership can come to us from the divine. So that's again another reason to trust the instincts that you're getting under this new moon energy. Now, I've talked about what's going on with this cycle and the new moon energy. How about what's happening for each individual sign? Let's explore that now. So we're going to start, because I'm just in the mood for starting with in places I wouldn't usually go. So why don't we start with Gemini? There we go. Start with something new. And here is Gemini Rising. You can use the sun or moon interpretation if you would like as well. That's fine. The new moon is obviously falling in your first house. So it's in your life and its journey, where you're headed, what you're going towards, what you want to fulfill, your actual physical experience of life is where you're going to start something new. Now, it might be connected to the ability to thrive and survive. It might be connected also to your ability to put yourself out there in the world and how people will perceive you. So the creation of something new is falling in that realm. So you might be, creating a new image for yourself. I wouldn't recommend a haircut under Venus retrograde energy, but you might decide, I've got all these old, let's use what I've been talking about, these old dress patterns sitting in the cupboard. I'm going to dig them out in lockdown when I've got nothing else to do, and I'm going to make myself a new top. And you go and sew yourself a new top. It's very much Gemini energy, first house, changing your image. You've got new clothes that you're going to wear. You mightn't wear them, when Venus has gone direct again, but you might actually get a lot of joy out of using the skills of your hands, starting a whole new enterprise, starting a whole new way of doing things by making your own clothes, changing your image that way. I used to love when I was a girl, I had this wonderful magazine that had all these concoctions that were old beauty treatments, and it was just wonderful, and milk and honey and using herbs and things like that to create like exfoliants and masks and things like that. So you might actually, Gemini people, enjoy getting back to some natural beauty care under this energy. The first house is how we look, and so using some naturally grown herbs to wash your hair with or something like that can change your appearance, can change how you're doing as you put the image you put out to the world. And of course, with the new moon energy, it's starting something new in a different way using the skills of your hands. Let's mix up that potion in the cauldron to pat all over my face or whatever it is. So excuse me, you might have a lot of fun and joy out of exploring those sorts of things that have to do with your appearance, how you're putting yourself out in the world, and also, as I said, how you survive and thrive. So for you guys, it could easily look like you decide you're going to start making your own food rather than buying it, or you might start to that's a method you can use to survive. Or you might go out and instead of paying a fortune for gas heating, you might go and chop some wood to put in the fireplace instead. A different way of surviving under Gemini new moon in the first house energy, sort of doing something different, but harking back to traditional values, Saturn energy. Now, this is going to go hand in hand with a new attitude that you'll probably have, which is more long-term. Start thinking long-term, start taking steps towards it. Blow that gas bill. I'm going to, stoke up that old fire in the corner, and that's going to be what we're going to use to heat now. So from now on, we're going to get our own wood and da-da-da-da. New way of doing things, and it might be something that you adopt for the long term. You're going to be thinking long term. In 6 months' time, I don't want to have a gas bill that's gone through the roof that I can't pay. I want to start making things more economical for me. So taking steps in the long term to survive and thrive. Very powerful for you Gemini rising people. But as I said, it's a good time to also apply patience and trust your instincts regarding first house things. So if you get an idea for how you can survive and thrive, or how you can present yourself to the world in a new, fresh way, trust your gut on that. Trust your instincts on that, and go with where your heart is leading you. Okay, next in line, let's do Cancer. Cancer energy puts the new moon in the 12th house. So this is where you might be creating something new. And of course, as I mentioned in the intro, the Saturn aspect might mean connecting with ancestors, and quite literally, you might have a new connection with ancestors who've actually passed over. You might get a vision or a dream. The veils can be quite thin now, and you might sort of connect in a dream or in a vision, or you might even, it could even be practical. You could even discover a letter that great aunt Josephine wrote to great uncle Tom, and you read it and you're like, oh my God, cha-ching, some sort of wonderful insight comes to you about your ancestors, because this is the house of where our ancestors communicate to us and with us. So that might happen, and it might be a new insight, a new way of seeing your ancestors, a new way of connecting with those ancestral energies. And of course, with Saturn making that aspect too, the linkage is there very strongly for you too. But it could also be some sort of new creative expression that comes through, and it might be a channeling of divine energy. It might be a channeling of your ancestral spirits moving through you, inspiring you to do something creative that you may never have done before. It could be Gemini is very practical, so it could be that you decide that you're going to restore the family home during this phase of your life, and you go and make arrangements for the local stonemason to come and do a bit of work, or with Saturn this rules stone. So I'm not saying that this is all about home and house, but it does connect to past lives and that ancestral entity type lineage, the lineage of the soul, if you like, that's running through us, and connections there where our ancestors' spirits are watching over. So there could be something new that comes to you now in that regard, and it might have to do with creativity, could also have to do with spirituality. This is a very spiritual house, and you might suddenly discover some new spiritual practice that does it for you, that really gets you going, something new in the 12th house of spirituality. But whatever happens, it's going to sort of solidify and be with you for the long term. So let's say you start a new yoga practice or a meditation practice. Well, it's going to be with you for the long haul, and that can be a lovely thing. So whatever we establish under this new moon, it lasts. And you'll start thinking long term, and you'll be like, gosh, I love this 30 days of yoga with Adrienne. I'm going to make this a regular practice. I'm going to do this every day for the rest of my life. And you sort of think long term and big picture, maybe not big picture under Saturn's influence, but you think long term about what you're establishing, and you want to apply it and bring it in for the long haul. But the idea here is to apply patience with the steps that you're taking and to trust your instincts. If you feel drawn to start doing yoga with Adrienne, or if you feel drawn to, she's really good, by the way, I'm not being paid to promote her, she's just good. If you feel drawn to, start some sort of Buddhist practice, or, do regular past life regressions in the privacy of your own home, or do some sort of dance therapy, then this is all 12th house kind of stuff. And you can sort of trust your instincts on that now. If you're being drawn to do something, then go with it. Follow your heart under this influence. Also, one great example is if you're feeling like you've got to just create something. When I went through my divorce, I just felt like I have to create collages, and I was just making all these canvases of collages, and had nothing to do with my emotions and my feelings, but with just beautiful pictures that I felt had to come out of my soul, and it was so cathartic and so healing. And I haven't probably made a collage in, 8 years. It's not like I make them on a regular basis, but at that time I think I made like 15 of them in a sort of a couple of month space. It was very much, I believe, a channeling of divine energy that allowed me to heal through this creative process. So trust your heart. If you're being drawn to do something like that right now under this new moon energy in your 12th house, guys, go with it. It may make you a ton of money, or it might make you nothing at all and just give you a sense of catharsis. It doesn't matter. The purpose is channel that energy and let it flow through you, because it's going to be healing under this influence. So trust your instincts is the message that I'm trying to give here. Okay, Leo peeps. Leo sun, rising, or moon sign. That will be me. I'm a Leo sun, for those who didn't know that. So what does this mean? Well, this is the new moon falling in your 11th house. Nice place to have a new moon energy. There'll be a creation of something new, a beginning of something new to do with, how you might make money in the world, how you generate income, the work of your hands in the sign of Gemini, yes, but we all know the 11th house is the second house from the 10th. What's the 10th house all about? 10th house is all about our worldly achievements, our career, etc. And the 11th house, being the second house from the 10th, is all about the money that we make from our worldly achievements. So for you guys, there might be a new beginning with the money that you make from your career. You might come up with a new project. It's very visionary and very much about, being progressive, having progressive ideas and a new approach to things. So this is a very, very exciting time. And of course, Saturn's energy is going to solidify whatever you start. It's going to establish it. It's going to allow it to be present for the long term. And in fact, whatever you do establish in terms of projects for your career or whatever, it is going to last for the long term, and you'll be thinking about it long term. It's likely to be a long term type of project that you're going to want to establish, not just I'll use myself as an example. I'll run a promotion for 2 weeks and that'll be it. It's not a sprint to the finish line. It's a long haul. What project am I establishing? What offering am I giving that's going to go for a long time and endure, that will last? So that is where our energy is going to be. And it might be something that's from the past. It might be something you've thought about before. Saturn energy, being there before, past energy. Could be something old that you're producing in a new way, with a new dynamic and a new energy. Saturn is the traditions. Remember, I was talking in the intro. Saturn is our traditions and the ancestors, the influences of the ancestors that you might incorporate into some new project that you're building. So apply patience to whatever it is you're building, because Saturn will require patience, but it's all healthy. It's a trine energy. It's good energy. Apply patience to what you're doing, and you trust your instincts. If you feel that now is the time, now is the time. Launch that project or go into that competition to receive that award. This is a house of rewards, gains, accolades, honors. So, apply for that, Nobel Peace Prize or whatever it is that you're trying to succeed in. It can be established now, and it can be successful and beneficial now for you, whether you win the Nobel Peace Prize or not. Just being nominated would be great. So, lots of beautiful energy for Leo rising people. Be patient with the process, think long term, and trust your instincts here. Virgo energy is seeing this fall in the 10th house. New moon energy in the 10th house. What a lovely placement to have new moon energy, guys. So if you're Virgo rising or sun or moon, what we're seeing here is the creation of something new for you in terms of career. So I'm not saying that everyone who's Virgo, sun or moon has lost their job in the coronavirus upheaval, not at all, but I'm saying you might have a new idea for work or new idea for some worldly achievement. I mean, the 10th house, it's not just what we make money from, in the company as the CEO or anything. It's the worldly achievements that we want to do. I mean, Vincent van Gogh, look at the worldly achievements he created. He never He never made a penny out of his paintings until he was gone. So he created this beautiful legacy, but it wasn't so much about money. And surviving and thriving. That's not the 10th house. That's a first house thing, to survive and thrive. 10th house is not surviving and thriving. 10th house is, what do you want to achieve? What do you want to be known for? What do you want to leave as a legacy? So you may get a very wonderful new idea, Virgo peeps, about sorry, I shouldn't say peeps. My daughter would roll her eyes and go, oh my God, Mum. What do you want to establish now that is going to last for the long term for you in terms of worldly achievements? Maybe you want to write a book. With Gemini here, it could be something literary, something written. Maybe you want to establish some sort of teaching program. Maybe you want to, start up a whole new platform for social media. Go you. That's great. We need more of those. But whatever it is, you're going to build something now or get a new idea, start something now that's going to have the potential to last for the long term. Beautiful tight trine from Saturn. And you're going to be thinking long term with this idea for worldly achievement. You're going to be, very oriented to some worldly achievement that you want to create that can actually last the distance, So make sure that what you are directing your energy and your thoughts towards now under this new moon is something that you can build for the long term. But look, you'll need patience. This is not something that it's going to happen overnight. In fact, it might not reach its full fruition until a year's time, when we have the full moon in the sign of Gemini and things go full circle, as they say. So this is a time of long-term patience that's needed, a long-range view for what you're establishing, and you must trust your instincts now. You can trust your heart under this new moon energy. It's not going to lead you wrong. If you're feeling pulled to go and start some community of like-minded individuals, maybe as a Epicurean society or something, or the slow food movement in your town or something like that, if you're feeling a pull to establish something like that, then trust your instincts on it. Don't just sort of fob it off and say, well, that's gonna be a waste of my time. And no, this is part of the process, to listen to the heart and to follow and trust our instincts. When we've got the moon making, not so much new moon, but the moon making a trine to Saturn, it's telling us that our intuition can be trusted to make a solidified, concrete manifestation in earthly reality, Saturn. So keep patient, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to start something new in that realm. All right, Libra rising people, or sun or moon. This energy is falling in the lucky 9th house for you guys. Thumbs up, fantastic. What does this mean? Well, it's in the 9th house that you might be creating something new. And whatever you create has the potential to really last the long term because of Saturn's beautiful trinal energy. So what are we looking at here? 9th house, it could be, you start some sort of teaching program. Now, this is not like Gemini 3rd house energy where it's like, let's share ideas, let's learn from one another, let's collaborate, let's learn together. It's more the guru and the disciples kind of a thing. So if you're Libra, sun or moon or rising, you might get an idea. I want to start a YouTube course, and this is just an example, and I'm going to teach people the knowledge that I have about psychology. It could be anything, but that's one thing. Or maybe, you want to teach people about 9th house stuff like publishing or cultural experiences or something, and you want to be not the guru, but you want to impart your knowledge because you've got a great amount of knowledge to share. So it is a time under this energy where you can establish some sort of new teaching program, or where you are imparting your knowledge to others. It's also could mean that you are starting something new regarding a publishing opportunity, maybe a new book, maybe publishing a website, maybe publishing a new social media page, maybe publishing sort of a new platform that you've established or something. This is Gemini after all, ruling like social media and internet-y kind of stuff. So anything like that could be where you are establishing something new that imparts new knowledge and wisdom, or that is about publishing something. 9th house is publishing. It's also about travel. Now, obviously, that's not really on the cards for many of us at the moment, but we can travel virtually. So there might be an opportunity for you to start something new in terms of virtual travel. And for you guys, Libra people, this 9th house is very activated to do with travel, because Gemini is about localized travel in the house that's all about cultural overseas travel. So there's a sort of double travel energy going on in your 9th house, Libra rising people. So you might be starting something new in terms of some travel idea. It could be virtual travel, something or other. It could be publishing something about travel. It could be to do, with online travel information. Like maybe you start a blog, maybe you've traveled the world and you've been everywhere and seen everything and done everything, and now you're locked down in your house and you're like, stuff it, I'm going to start a blog, I'm going to publish about my trips to Cuba and my time in Chile and and you start sharing your knowledge and your journey with others, and you sort of become the guru of travel. So these are just some ideas. There's many ways this can play out. This is the house of higher knowledge, cultural experiences, be they actual physically felt cultural experiences or not, and to share and impart knowledge as the teacher, as the wise one, as the inspirational figure. So start thinking about these sorts of things, or you may be thinking about these sorts of things, and you'll be thinking, how can I utilize these for the long term? How can I draw on this skill set that I have to use these things and make it a long-term thing? Not just a, hey, while I'm in lockdown, I'll write a few articles about my travels. How can this be a long-term thing? Because Saturn is going to give you the ability to make it solidified and last and endure. So whatever you establish now in that realm, you can really make something of it. You can really make it go the distance in your life, last, and you'll be thinking long term. You'll be thinking, how can I make this last? And you'll take the steps you need to take to achieve it and make it a long-term venture. But you must apply patience. Saturn energy asks us to give patience to whatever we're establishing now and to trust our instincts. The moon and Saturn combined gives us the need to trust our instincts, knowing that whatever we feel an instinctual pull towards can be solidified in earthly material reality. The combination of these two energies is just that good. So that's what we're seeing for Libra rising people. Now for Scorpio people, and this is rising, sun or moon, you can use either one, whatever tickles your fancy, whatever applies to you. The new moon is falling in your 8th house, and this is a great new moon because there's a beautiful solidifying, as I said in the intro, aspect from Saturn. So you will be creating something new in an 8th house realm. New moon energy is to start something new, creation, begin something, and this could be a new diving deep into astrology. Lada's running a course at the moment on Hellenistic astrology with Roman Kolov. I mean, how fantastic. If you've always wanted to study that, now's your time, Scorpio people. Go deep, dig deep into the ancient Babylonian system of astrology. Very 8th house Gemini. Start some new research, some new study into a field like that. Or you might decide, you know what, I'm going to do a course in miracles. I've always wanted to do it. I've got the time on my hands now. I'm going to dive right in, going to do a course in miracles, or some esoteric practices, or some mystical practices, maybe study some shamanism, that sort of thing. You can really start jumping in and diving deep with that kind of thing under this new moon energy, and whatever you dig into and do the research for, it's going to last. It's going to stick with you for a long time. It's going to really go deep with you and be powerful with you, Saturn making an aspect to this area of the chart. And it will last you for the long term. So whether you utilize it in your day-to-day life in the long term or not, it will be kind of a mystical belief system that will resonate with you perhaps for the rest of your life, perhaps for the long term. Saturn giving it the power of endurance in your life. And of course, this 8th house is about mystical belief systems, alternative, shamanic, the magical belief systems that are very ethereal. I love this house. I love the 8th house. I don't find the 8th house frightening at all, as I know some traditions of astrology do. Maybe that's because I've got 3 planets there. I don't know, and it's just very familiar to me. But I think for you guys, Scorpio people, 8th house is a familiar kind of energy to you guys anyway. And so this is a powerful time when you can really utilize that 8th house stuff. For you guys also, you might also find that it gives you an opportunity for new resources from shared sources, not just what you generate off your own bat, off your own skill sets, but more the shared resources that are seen from the 8th house. Like you might decide you want to instigate and create a GoFundMe page for something. And so you start this GoFundMe page and, do a bit of promotion around that and what have you. 8th house energy is money that comes from sources outside of yourself. So, GoFundMe, other crowdfunding things, Patreon pages, Buy Me a Coffee page, that's a fabulous site. All these sorts of things where you could actually start to utilize now for some new project or new idea under new moon in your 8th house energy. And of course, it's something that you can build over time that will endure for the long term. Also, with Saturn involved in this, you want to apply patience. This isn't, if you do start a GoFundMe page or looking at something like that, it's not going to be something that is, the goal is reached, in a week's time. No, it's more a long-term process, and you need to have patience for that, but it can really stick and it can really bring benefits over the long term. So trust your instincts about how to work with this energy and in what way it will manifest for you. Listen to your heart, listen to your body and what it's telling you. Listen to the calling of spirit, because you can't go wrong with it under this energy that we're experiencing right now. So, okay, let's move on. Sagittarius energy. New moon energy for you guys is falling in the 7th house. So this is where you're going to be able to create something new and know that it will last and that it will stick with you for the long term. Now, this could be, for some of you, you might be thinking, oh, great, new partnerships, new lovers, new marriages, not necessarily. This is also the house of refined culture, sophistication, contracts, diplomacy, negotiation and mediation, win-win situation. So you might find a new opportunity and a new beginning in one of those realms. Maybe you'll get a chance to sign some sort of new contract that involves a partnership. Let's say, this is Sagittarius energy, which is all about publishing. Let's say you get a contract with a publisher and you go into partnership with a publisher or a distributor or a promoter of some sort. That could very much be the energy of what's going on here. And you get a new opportunity to establish some contract, some deal, some arrangement, trade agreement or what have you with someone. Or maybe you establish a new partnership with someone who's going to do, you want to create, some sort of illustrations, and you need someone to illustrate for you, for the book you've written or the film you've made or something like that. And you find a partner and you sign on the dotted line. Here's our connection, here's our partnership, here's our agreement. You'll do the illustrations, I'll do the text, and away we go. So you can find there can be new partnerships of a business nature, anything contractual, really. There might be some new contract for you guys to sign under this energy, and maybe some new idea as well that you can utilize with a partner and establish something with a partner. Maybe, I keep using my dress analogy, but it does really fit the Gemini tone, which is to make things with the hands. You might decide that you love to sew beautiful dresses, and it's time that you started making them and selling them at local markets with your best friend who also loves to knit handmade jumpers or something, and together you're going to have this stall at a market and start buying and start selling your homemade garments. Very much the nature of new ideas, new establishment, creation of something new in the sign of Gemini in the 7th house. So Saggy people, that's what you could be looking at. And of course, because of the trine from Saturn, whatever you establish under this energy is going to be enduring and persevering and last for you. So that could be fantastic long term now. And it might not mean that you'll have your market stall up and running next week. It might mean that you are looking at, 6 months time, we're going to have this up and running. We'll have enough stock prepared and we'll get going then, and we'll be able to establish it. And you're going to be thinking long term with this. And that's a good thing. Not only will you be thinking long term, but whatever you establish under this new moon energy has the potential to last for the long term, to endure, to persevere through the highs and lows and ups and downs of life. Saturn making a trine. Beautiful. You'll have the patience that you need to put towards this new venture. You will be able to trust your instincts now too. So if you're feeling like I've got to start that market stall, or yes, I really feel within me that it's a right thing to do to sign this contract, then trust your instincts under this energy. Saturn making an aspect here. I do need to also point out, and I haven't done this in the other signs yet, but there is a sort of hard aspect between Neptune and Mercury and Venus. This could be somehow influential for you as well, Saggy people, because Mercury rules contracts, okay? So in that sense, if you're feeling drawn to sign some sort of contract, for you guys, I would encourage you to get it double checked by somebody else. Get another person, 7th house, to look over what you're going to sign to make sure you haven't missed any details or that you're not getting the wool pulled over your eyes. And the reason that is because Mercury is currently making a square to Neptune, which is to feel foggy, to feel unclear, and for things not to be as above board as you would want them to be. So for you guys, if you are looking at signing contracts, I would encourage you to make sure you get a second set of eyes, a second opinion over those contracts, okay? But I haven't talked about that in great length in this video at all. But for the new moon energy, that's where you're looking, the potential for new things in terms of contracts, partnerships, and if you're lucky, maybe a new relationship. Okay, so Capricorn energy is putting the new moon into the 6th house. So what does this mean? Well, this means where you're going to be creating something new, starting something new. What is 6th house? Well, it could just mean you get a new pet under this energy. This 6th house is a house of pets. So you might get a new dog or a new cat. It could mean that you establish something new in terms of a work practice and the way you're doing your daily routine. You know, many of us have been in lockdown for a number of months now, and you decide, you know what, this is going to be my new routine. I like this. I want to work from home. My work is giving me the option. I'm going to work from home. Bonus, new routine, establishing something new in the house of routines and daily activity and work. So it could look like that, where you start some sort of new daily routine. Maybe you decide, you know, you really like doing a meditative practice at 6 o'clock in the morning, and so you establish that new routine under this energy. But whatever new routine or health practice or work practice or new animal that comes into your life looks like, it's going to last. It's going to be with you for a long time. That little kitten that you bring home, she's going to still be with you in 12 years from now. and that's because we've got a beautiful trine from Saturn making whatever begins under this energy enduring and lasting. So make it something good, make it something worthwhile. You'll also be thinking about the long term. How can I make this business practice or this, working from home idea, how can I make that last for me? How can I make that endure for me under this energy? You'll also be thinking along the lines of new health routines and how they're going to affect you in the long term as well. Maybe you start on a new vegan diet or something, and it really makes you feel good. Your body feels lighter. And so you're like, oh, I'm going to do this for the long term. This is going to be the new me. It's not just a 1 week thing where I test it out. Now I think I'm going to make it, this is me. I'm a vegan now, or whatever it happens to be. I'm not an advocate for veganism. I'm just using it as an illustration. So whatever you start in terms of routine, habits, diets, pets, etc., it can last for the long term, and you'll also be thinking, how can I make this long term? How can I incorporate this into my everyday life in the long term? So you might need patience to establish some new things. I mean, if you're starting to work from home now, for example, you are going to need patience as you iron out the creases. Where are the hiccups here? What's not working? What is working? You'll need a bit of patience. Saturn trine to the new moon gives you the ability to inject a bit of patience into the situation. You've also got now the capacity to trust your instincts, knowing that they won't lead you wrong. We've got the moon making a trine to Saturn. Now the moon is our instincts, and Saturn solidifies and materializes things. So your instincts can actually solidify and materialize for you now regarding this realm of life that Gemini rules for you. So whatever your instinct is leading you towards, you know what, I really want to work from home. I loved being home in lockdown. Don't want to go back to the corporate environment and the bitchiness and the backstabbing and the forget that. I just want to work from home. Trust your instinct if that's how you're feeling, and look for the solution, because it could well be there for you and available to you now under this energy. All right, here we are. Aquarius rising. Boom, puts this energy of the new moon in the 5th house. And so this is where you're going to want to create something new. Now, we might see some Aquarians getting pregnant under this energy. This is the house of children, so who knows? But we have other things going on in the 5th house as well. You might get some sort of creative inspiration. You might get an opportunity to perform in some way that you never imagined. Fifth house new moon is to start something new that is creative or demonstrative, presenting something, create something new that's a form of pleasure and joy and delight, something that brings happiness to you and to others as well. So it could also be that you get a new love enter into your life. How lovely for Aquarius rising people. For those of us who aren't looking for new love, who are Aquarius rising people, we might get a new opportunity for romance with our existing partner. We might be able to have, go out on date night with our wife or our husband. And I'm just thinking the lovely man that I see, he's Aquarius rising. I'm like, what could we do this weekend? So, yes, now my mind's going down that rabbit hole, but definitely the potential for some lovely new romance that could start for you if you're a single person, or if you are already in a relationship, some joy and pleasure that's of a romantic nature as well. So the thing with this energy though is that whatever you establish now, it has the capacity to last, and that's because we've got a beautiful trine from Saturn in your first house through to this fifth house energy. And of course, these are blessed houses. These are the Dharma houses. So you've got some blessing that's coming here for Aquarius rising people. First house to fifth house, lucky houses. And that's really good. You guys need this. You really do. Whatever you establish under this energy, whether it's a new baby, a new love, more, a romantic practice, it's going to last. Whatever creative endeavors that you undertake, new hobbies or new sources of pleasure and joy, they're going to last. They're going to endure. Saturn making a trine from the first house to the fifth house. So do that romantic, go out on a date away from other people, of course. Lockdown hasn't finished. Maybe have a picnic in your backyard or something, but create that romantic experience, enjoy it, and you'll actually be establishing something for the long term. Maybe a romantic standard is now set in your life. Maybe a new hobby that you just, you fall in love with. And I was talking in the intro about using the skills of the hands and Gemini, and how we're in this cycle now of Gemini energy. So you might find that it's a really good time to establish, maybe you like bottling fruit, and that becomes your new hobby, and you do all sorts of patterns with apricots and plums and you make these beautiful, bottled fruits or something as a new hobby that you never even imagined was there and available to you. This is the house of hobbies. Establishing something new that actually becomes your passion, your delight for the future. And you'll actually be thinking long term about this hobby or about this love or about this child. And you'll be thinking, or this source of pleasure, you'll be thinking, how can I incorporate this as a long-term thing in my life? And it will want to be so. Obviously, if you're having a child, I'm afraid that is going to be a long-term thing, whether you want it or not. But a hobby that might be a long-term, source of joy, source of delight, source of pleasure for you, a practice of romance, a practice of love that becomes, a new standard for you that lasts the distance. So you're going to be thinking about long-term effects of what you establish under this transit. So really, really beautiful. But I would encourage you all to apply patience, to trust your instincts under this. Whenever Saturn's involved, we need patience. So you mightn't have the skills up to scratch to do your new hobby just yet. You might need to work a bit on that, but have a bit of patience as you develop your skill set and master it. That's okay. That's fine. You'll enjoy mastering it. It won't feel like you're butting your head against a brick wall trying to master this new skill set. It'll come quite naturally, actually. But you will need some patience as you go through that. Maybe you'll need some patience establishing a new love affair. A new love in your life might require more patience than usual, especially under lockdown. If you're establishing a new dating relationship, hello, how hard is it to actually go and have dates with someone under lockdown? You might have met someone on Bumble or RSVP or something, and you want to go on a few dates, you want to meet up in person, but you're going to need patience, okay, under this energy. But that's okay. It's going to help establish things for the long term and give it a good foundation. So be patient with what you're building under this energy, and trust your instincts as well. This is a Moon-Saturn connection that's harmonious, which means what you imagine, Moon, what your instinct is leading you towards can solidify and materialize in reality. Saturn energy. So trust your instincts. They won't lead you astray under this energy. Okay, I'll stop holding the little board there and we'll move on to Pisces. Pisces energy is putting this in the realm of the 4th house. So what does this then mean? This is, if you're Pisces rising, sun or moon, I need to point out as well, you can apply any. But this is where you're going to be creating something new in the realm of the home, something new in the dynamic of your relationship, maybe with your mother or with your maternal line, with your family, with your home, with your roots, with the place of origin. Look, I'm seeing this play as I'm speaking here. I'm going, oh my God, this is so true. This is exactly what's happening in my life. And we haven't even hit the new moon yet. This establishment of a new dynamic, a new relationship with home, with family, with heritage, with roots. It could also mean a new dynamic with regard to your actual bricks and mortar home as well. So maybe you know, under this energy, you decide, you know what, I'm going to build a new bedroom, extension on my home. And under this energy, you know, you decide it mightn't happen for a long time, but you know, we need a new bedroom. We're just getting too crowded. So you decide this is going to be our new venture. This is going to be our new focus. We're going to extend the house. The creation of something new in the home environment or even in the domestic environment as well. So we're going to see some new energies, new life breathed into this part of our horoscope. There's also this beautiful trine happening from Saturn to this new moon energy, establishing this new way of being, this new energy, this new relationship with the heritage, the roots, the lineage, the home. And this is good because you're going to be thinking about the long term with regard to home and community and family and so on. And how can you maybe establish something new that's going to last in terms of your relationship with the family, your relationship with mum, relationship with the maternal line, relationship with the community that you come from as well. I just can't believe how much this is just so real. And, you know, we're thinking long term about this energy, about where we're living now, and the environment we're living in now, and the community that we're living in now. We're thinking long term, and whatever we establish that is new in this realm, it's going to last. It's going to be with us for the long haul. It's going to endure. And that's because Saturn causes things to last. We're going to be thinking about the long term, but we're also, what we establish is going to be for the long term. So new relationship dynamics. Maybe we go back home for a visit and we see a farm that's for sale that we've always wanted to have, and we think, oh yeah, let's go get that. And it's established, it's solidified, it's going to be your home for the long term. Guess what I've been thinking about lately? It's going to be your home for the long term. Saturn trine, new moon in Gemini. So you'll be thinking long term and you'll be taking steps towards achieving that end. Now, not only that, but you will need patience because Saturn is the need for patience here. Coming from your 12th house, the house of ancestors and karma and karmic ripening, karmic reaping of seeds that have been sown. You will need patience though. If you're going to go home and buy that farm, it's not going to happen overnight. You'll need some patience now. If you're going to add that bedroom onto your house, well, hello, you know, the builder could be booked up for another 6 months. It's not going to happen for quite some time yet. If you are going to, change a relationship dynamic with your maternal line, it mightn't actually alter much straight away. You might need patience and persistence to actually see the changes emerge in that regard. So expect that you'll need to exercise the muscle of patience to see the outcome, but you'll have what it takes now to do that, and you can trust your instincts as well. You'll have the patience you'll need, you'll be prepared to wait, and you can trust your instincts. They're not going to lead you astray under this new moon energy. And this is because the moon is our instincts and our imagination, and it's making this connection to Saturn. So what's the energy all about? Materializing. Saturn is to materialize our imagination, materialize our our intuition. So trust your instincts right now. They're not going to lead you astray. I'm sorry, I keep laughing. I just cannot believe. I just love astrology so much. Okay, Aries energy. I'll settle down. Aries energy. We are seeing this dynamic of the new moon play out in the second house. So this is where you're going to be looking to create something new and establish something new. And for you guys, well, this could very well, sorry, I've said second house, it's third house, not second house. Sorry about that. So for, let's start again, Aries, sun or moon or rising sign, you're going to have this energy in the third house, and this is where you'll create something new. It might be a new business. This is the house of small business. It's the house of where you do things that you make money from the skills of your own hands. So now's the time, guys. Launch that Etsy shop. Put that, I'm thinking, YouTube and social media and websites and things like that. Now's the time to focus on doing that stuff. Connect in with Etsy. Connect in with GoDaddy and make that website for yourself or something. Do those sorts of things, because there's never been a better time under the new moon in Gemini energy in your third house. And whatever you establish now in terms of a small business or in terms of a website or in terms of some sort of marketing or advertising or promotional work that you're doing, my God, guys, it's going to last the long term. It's going to endure. If you establish a new platform now, a new website now, a new YouTube channel now, it will last. Now, you might need patience to see it through to its full capacity and its full potential. It's not going to happen overnight, but Saturn's going to give you, trying to the new moon, the patience that's needed to see this new project to its fullness, to its fruition. Not only that, but you will take steps with a vision of, this is what I want to achieve in the long term. Yes, my website might start small, my Etsy shop might start small, but in the long term, I could do this, I could do that. I'm going to take steps towards building it to that vision that I have. So it's a really great time for establishing something like this. Also, under this new moon energy, it's a time when you as Aries rising people can trust your instincts in third house things. Trust your heart, because the moon rules our instincts. The moon rules our imagination. And so whatever you're feeling in your imagination or your heart, you're feeling drawn to something, and you just think, man, if I could just start that Etsy shop selling knitted dolls or whatever it happens to be, oh my God, that would be like the bee's knees for me, and I'd run my small business and da-di-da. And you get this inspiration, and you can trust that gut instinct now, because it's making a trine to Saturn, which is about solidifying and materializing the instincts, the imagination right now, solidifying and materializing whatever your instincts are. So trust your gut instinct now under this energy. I love it. Go, guys. I can't wait to see all your brand new websites that you establish, or your new businesses, or your new ideas, maybe a new webinar or teaching course or something like that you want to establish. This is a house of learning. Maybe you establish a new networking platform where you can share skills and abilities and sort of promote other people, what other people do. I'm good at this, I'm good at that. There's a name for that site, and I can't think what it's called, where you can sort of post, I need someone to take a couch from Melbourne to Sydney. Is anyone available? Someone puts up their hand, and yep, I'll take it there for X amount of dollars. There's a name for that site, but that's very Gemini. Short trips, short travels, and networking and sharing skills, that kind of thing. New ideas in that realm that will last the long term, that will give some solidity to your life. Go, guys. It's going to be fantastic. Okay, Taurus energy, the final one. Hey, guys, thank you for waiting so long if you are Taurus, sun, rising, or moon. I really appreciate your patience. As a Pisces rising person, I know what it's like to have to wait to go last all the time. That's why I try to sort of mix it up a little bit. But because of the new moon falling in your second house, this is where you guys can create something new under the new moon energy, establish something new, begin something new. I'm just so excited. This energy has me buzzing. And for you, it's the second house, so it might be some new retail opportunity. Now, when I say retail, I'm not saying a shop front. That sort of stuff is It's not dying, or maybe some people would argue that it is, but it's certainly not the way of the future at the moment. You might open a new retail shop online. It doesn't have to be on Amazon, could be your own thing. You might open an Etsy shop. You might open a website where you're selling something. This is the money that we make and the resources that we have. So it's likely to be associated with the things you need to support your journey in life. If you get a new opportunity to establish something, it's going to be connected to those things. Maybe you start an online shoe warehouse or something like that, because collections of shoes are seen from the second house. Anything to do with the resources for living, we know we need to wear something on our feet, that could be something as well. So we're looking at collections of things. We're looking at sort of the retail in terms of the not just retail in itself. That's actually not a second house thing, but it's more the stuff that I'm talking about, the art, the shoes, the jewelry, the clothes, the food. It's the stuff that we need, the material goods that we need in life. So you might get an opportunity to start something new with the stuff. It might be online buying and selling. Gemini is to do stuff online. But you might also get an opportunity in a localized sense as well. Now, at the moment in Australia, markets aren't running, but it's quite realistically in the future they will reopen, so you could run sort of a market stall opportunity and generate some income from the skills of your hands, because this is the money we make that supports us on our journey. This is the money we make that we generate in our own lives through the work that we do. So second house means, in Gemini in this case, you'll be able to create something, to make something that you can then generate an income with. It could be, it doesn't have to be sort of making it with your hands in terms of I'm sewing I'm knitting knitted dolls. It could be something like I'm growing pumpkins and I'm going to sell them at the market, or I'm, I've got all this excess, zucchinis that I need to just get rid of, and so I'll put them out there. You will have some opportunity to generate income for yourself through something that you can produce. Gemini and a Taurus rising, you could definitely look at sort of agricultural kind of perspectives on things in that regard. But it's also the house of self-worth and self-valuing. So in that sense, there might be a chance to start something new, very personal to you. How valuable are you feeling your contribution to the world is right now? Look at that. And let's say, you might get an opportunity to start something new with how you value yourself. And perhaps by putting that website out there, or that promotional opportunity, or that in the future I'm going to grow these pumpkins and then I'll sell them at the market, you actually start to feel good about yourself. You think, yeah, there's opportunity here, there's hope here, I can contribute, I've got something to give, and you start to value yourself. Second house is the things we value, including our own value, including our self-value. You might be discovering new skills and talents that you have, Gemini, that you can put to good use in your life to create resources for you as well. You might also get a new opportunity in the second house to start creating a collection of something. You find that you have to clean out grandma's cupboard or something, and you notice she's got all these beautiful silk scarves from the 1960s, and wow, these are incredible, and you're just enamored with this, and you actually, it starts you on a path of new collecting. I'm going to collect silk scarves from the 1960s, and you start developing a collection of something. In this case, scarves, but it could be anything. So under this energy of the new moon, you might discover some, petulance for scarves or shoes or something that you want to actually collect and store. You might get an interest in family history that comes up for you under this influence too. That could be very intriguing. And so whatever you establish new, you create something new, you discover something new, you invite something new into your sphere of living, your energy field, then it's going to last with you the long term. If you start a scarf collection, Saturn's trine to the new moon energy is going to say this scarf collection is going to be with you the rest of your life. In fact, you're going to be fascinated by this the rest of your life. It's going to be a passion for you the rest of your life, because Saturn will make it last and endure. Now, if you're looking to start up that, pumpkin selling escapade, it will be something you'll be looking at with a long range view as well. Obviously, you're not going to say, I'm going to have a pumpkin stall and then you'll have it next weekend. You've got to grow the pumpkins first. It's a long range exercise. So you'll be thinking long term with Saturn, and whatever you establish will last for the long term also. The final component of this new moon energy is that you will need patience. Obviously, if something is going to go for the long term, you need to be enduring and patient, Saturn energy, but you can also trust your instincts now too. The moon is our imagination. The moon is our instinct, where we're feeling like a gut instinct, I think I should do this. You can trust it because the moon making a trine aspect to Saturn is going to give you the ability to materialize and solidify what you imagine, what your gut is calling you to now. So if you are looking to establish that pumpkin venture, then bonus, this is the goods, this is the stuff. It will materialize for you. You can materialize your gut draw now. If you want to, suddenly start jumping on eBay and looking for 1960s silk scarves, you're going to achieve that. You're going to, if that's what your gut instinct is drawing you to do, then trust that. It's for your higher good and it will actually materialize. You'll find plenty of 1960 scarves on eBay or Etsy or somewhere. So trust your gut instincts now. They won't lead you wrong under this influence. So that is what we're seeing in the whiz around the horoscope this week under the energy of Gemini new moon. And as you can tell, I'm quite buzzed. I'm quite excited about this. Really thrilled, especially after just going through the Pisces energy and what's playing out there. I need to calm down. I need to go and have a cup of tea and calm my farm, literally. Okay, so let me close with a quick prayer to the universe for support under this new energy. Energy of love, we just welcome in joy, we welcome in delight, we welcome in the new freshness of this season of new moons and full moons falling in falling in Sagittarius and Gemini. That's going to bring eclipse cycles into our lives. We pray that these eclipse energies will benefit us. May they be full of light. May they be full of love. May they be full of upping our vibration. May they be full of blessing for us all this next 18-month period. We're starting with this new moon energy. We thank you for this new moon energy in Gemini and all that it promises and the restoration that it brings and the hope that it fills our hearts with. May we see that manifesting in the world around us, and may we trust wherever you lead us through your love in this time. And so it is. Well, thanks so much for joining me once again. I will have another Astro Weather Report for you next week. Do join me then.